I'm Barbara Toth, and this is the story of my husband, Jim Toth. Jim is a survivor of a very serious roadway crash. The year that he was injured in 2020, over 39,000 people lost their lives on roadways. We don't even know how many, certainly many times that many, suffered life-altering injuries. My husband is one of them, and I'd like to tell you a bit about how that has impacted his life. When he was injured, Jim and I had been married 48 years. We were loving retirement, traveling, and planning more travels. He was riding his bicycle a lot, and he was enjoying the retirement business that he had always hoped to do. We could never have imagined when he left that morning that it would be more than 6 weeks before he came home. Because when he was just a short distance from home on his bicycle, a 17-year-old driving a truck rammed right into the back of him, tossing Jim and his bicycle high into the air, and he came crashing down right on his back. There's every indication that the driver did not even know he was there until the collision. It was such a perfect day. It didn't seem dangerous at all. A sunny afternoon on a straight, flat road, a road that had room for everyone, including bicycle paths and sidewalks. But that 17-year-old, for whatever reason, did not see my husband. And our life is very, very different because of that. At the speed the young driver was traveling, it's truly a miracle my husband even survived. His injuries were horrific. It was overnight before we even knew to what degree. His back was broken in 5 places, one vertebra completely shattered. His spinal cord, all but a tiny thread, was cut. That tiny thread was a huge blessing because that means he does have some mobility. We're grateful for his life and we're grateful for what he does have. But I believe many people look at survivors and don't realize that survivors are not alive and well. Thankfully, my Jim is alive, but he'll never be well again. He was tall and strong, and now he's stooped and twisted, very weak, can barely walk. His ability to walk has decreased over the last 5.5 years. It's very likely he will lose that ability at some point. For a while, he could still enjoy riding his bicycle. He can no longer do that. We don't know if he will gain the strength, balance, and stamina to do that. There are so many things in his life that he's no longer able to do. The basic household and yard and vehicle chores. The business that he loved was building and caring for bicycles. Of course, he could not continue to do that. He loved to hike. We can't do that. Along with his broken back, there are surrounding that part of the body a good many vital organs, and they certainly are traumatized in an injury such as Jim suffered. It certainly varies from spinal cord injury to spinal cord injury. What he deals with is fairly common. The most frustrating aspect of it, and embarrassing to him, is that he is completely incontinent. He has no control whatsoever of his bladder or his bowels. Most of us cannot even imagine the inconvenience, the embarrassment of living with something like that. And yet, Jim lives with that every day. The potential embarrassment of being out in public and having an episode that would be so embarrassing keeps him close to home. It's made our world very narrow. I think he's very courageous that he goes out as much as he does. But we don't travel. We seldom go to restaurants or theaters or concerts because it's a high price for him to pay the stress and the worry and the concern that something embarrassing might occur. He's also very weak and has very little energy. Everything that he does takes a lot of physical and emotional stamina. Part of what he deals with is a traumatic brain injury. He forgets things. That's frustrating to him and to me. And that becomes a part of heightened emotions that come along with a brain injury. Sometimes he feels like he doesn't even know himself when he reacts or responds in a way that he might not have done prior to being injured. Additionally, he's lost a lot of his vision. He suffered a great deal of additional hearing loss. And so his world, again, is much smaller and much narrower than it used to be. I am so very grateful that he is still alive. But I've come to realize that we are surrounded by a good many survivors, and most people have no understanding whatsoever of what that cost is. You see, the young driver that hit Jim did not take his life, but he stole an enormous amount of his quality of life. My husband, my hero, lives with the consequences of that every day.